This QDS video will begin a CAPI survey and then demonstrate how to interrupt and resume interview data files that either have or have not been renamed. Finally, we'll take a look at how that data is saved in the Warehouse Manager. You may occasionally need to interrupt an interview if the respondent is unable to complete the full survey in a single sitting. You can safely interrupt an interview in the following ways. From the CAPI main menu, you can go to Interview, End Interview, and that will close the current interview but not close the CAPI software. You can also go to Interview and the last option, which is Exit. That will close the interview and close CAPI. You can also use the keyboard shortcut Alt F4. That's the same as using Exit. Finally, you can also use the Windows X, which is always in the upper right-hand corner of any Windows software. That also works the same as selecting Interview, Exit, or Alt F4. All of those are safe ways to interrupt your CAPI interview. Make sure and never interrupt in any other way because that could cause your data file to become corrupted. In some cases, you may also need to resume and complete that interview at a later time. There are different methods for doing this for two situations. The first is if the interview data file has not been renamed. We have an example of what that file name might look like here on the screen. Just study. EN, the two-letter designation for an English language survey, and then CAPI.QAD. Again, QAD is the extension for all of your CAPI data files. Next, it works a little bit differently if you want to resume an interview that has been renamed. As of QDS version 4.0, there is now an automatic renaming option. That is a CAPI build option that you can select, and it's called Generate Unique Data File for each interview, and we'll show you how you select that. And if you do that, the CAPI interview will be automatically renamed, and it will include the main file name, but then it will also have added the unique identifier, which here in this example was 1122, and then it will include a date and a timestamp. The timestamp includes seconds as well, so it's always going to be unique. We're going to show how to resume in each of these circumstances in this tutorial video. First, we will start our CAPI survey by opening the file name from Windows Explorer. Note that you can also have a desktop shortcut to start from. For this example, we're going to open our study control file. You'll notice that CAPI interview files always have the extension of .qpi and are of the type QDS Personal Interview Control File. CAPI will open to the first screen of the survey, which here is an information element screen, and we're going to click Next Question to continue and proceed and respond to the first couple of items. And now we'll reach a point where we're going to interrupt our interview. It's very important to only use the correct methods for interrupting a survey. You should never use the Task Manager or Control-Alt-Delete to shut down the computer, as that could leave the data file in a corrupted state. So to review, we can use our interview menu. We can select the second option, End Interview, which will end this current interview but not close the CAPI software. Or we can select Exit, which will also end and close down CAPI, or the keyboard shortcut of Alt F4. Remember, you can always use that red Windows X that's up in the upper right-hand corner of the screen as well. That's the same as using Exit. Once we select one of those options, QDS will ask you if you're sure you want to terminate this interview. If you say no, you'll go right back. But if you do say yes, then CAPI will close. First, we will look at how to resume an interview that has not been renamed. You'll go to QDS 5.0, CAPI Program 5.0 from either your Windows Start menu or Apps view of the Start screen, depending on what version of Windows you're using. Next, you will see the CAPI Open dialog box, and if you're not there already, you can navigate to the appropriate folder and select your control file. Here we've selected the control file for our study. The next thing you'll need to do is change the default selection here at the radio buttons at the bottom. The default is to begin a new interview. You're going to want to change that to resume a prior interview radio button, and then you're going to click Open. The Pending Interviews dialog box will display a list of any incomplete cases in the current data file. In other words, for CAPI to find your incomplete interview, the data file still needs to be present in the same folder and with the same name as the CAPI control file. If the QAD data file containing the interrupted interview was moved or renamed, it will not be displayed when you're resuming using this method. Note that it's also possible to open a previously completed interview by clicking that Show All button. If we had any completed interviews, then they would show up here. Then you're going to want to go ahead and select your interview to resume and select OK. A dialog box will open up to confirm the interview that is being started, and then after you click OK, the CAPI program will take you to the screen at the point at which the interview is interrupted. From this point, you can continue on and complete your survey. Next, we're going to take a look at how to resume an interview that has been renamed with the Generate Unique Data File for each interview build option. That new feature was added in QDS version 4.0. To set that option in the Design Studio, you'll go to Options and then Build, and then we're going to open the CAPI tree. And then we'll go to the first drop down, which is Operations. And then we're going to go to the second to last checkbox, which is Generate Unique Data File for each interview. And then select OK to set that option. As before, you'll go to QDS 5.0, CAPI Program 5.0 from the Windows Start menu or Apps view. Once again, you'll see the CAPI Open dialog box. At this point, the process changes. Here in the Files of Type box, which is the second box, you're going to need to change this to type QDS Automated Interview Data Files. And then after you do that, you will see any of your data files listed that have the extension .qad, and so you're going to select the one that you would like to resume. Then, just like before, we are going to select that Resume a Prior Interview Radio button, and then you're going to select Open. A pop-up dialog box will alert you that the current folder does not contain a QPI control file with the same name as the selected data file. And then it'll go on to say that to find a matching control file, just go ahead and select OK, and when the next dialog box opens, you're going to select a matching control file. And we're going to do that now. So we'll select OK. And then you'll notice that under Files of Type, it does automatically indicate matching control file. So you're going to go ahead and select that, and then you're going to go ahead and select Open. After you do that, you'll see the Pending Interviews box like you did in the earlier resume process. Go ahead and select the interview that you're resuming, and when you select OK, once again, it will let you know that you're resuming that interrupted interview, and select OK to go ahead and continue to resume your CAPI. After you've completed the resumed CAPI survey, you can take a look at the data file and you can see that it will be renamed automatically upon completion with an updated date and time stamp. Next, we will take a look at how the incomplete and resumed interview look in the data file in the Warehouse Manager. With your local warehouse open, go to the main menu and go to File, the first choice, Open Source Data File, and navigate to your data file that you want to open. We're going to select the one that had the automatic rename option, and once that's selected, we'll click Open. Now you'll notice that you have two interviews listed in your source data file. One reads resumed later, and the other status is duplicate complete. The resumed later one is the interrupted interview. If we click on this to open it and go to the Variables tab, we can see that it left off after we entered the gender item and the rest of the data is missing because this is the incomplete interview. If we take a look at the duplicate complete one, we can see that this includes all of the responses in our completed survey. You can copy both of these interviews into your local warehouse by just dragging and dropping them open. When you do this, QDS will ask you if you want to replace the interview since it's a duplicate. We're going to go ahead and say no so that we can have both the incomplete and completed interviews in our local warehouse for documentation. If you prefer, you could choose to only copy the one completed interview to the local warehouse. So, to mark the incomplete interview deleted before exporting your data, you can select the Resumed Later interview and then the Delete button. It will ask you for a username for the data corrections log, which we'll go ahead and enter, and then it will ask you for a reason, which we'll go ahead and enter, and then select OK. You'll now see that the full interview is marked as complete in the status column, and the other is listed as deleted resumed later. Alternately, if the interview had never been resumed and completed, it would be marked like this in the Warehouse Manager. Any data that was never collected will just be blank or empty. You can decide whether or not these cases should be kept for data analysis. To learn more about QDS data files and data management with the Warehouse Manager, see QDS Online Help or other QDS learning videos.